All right, welcome everybody to this week's Sandpile. If someone could just confirm in the chat that you can hear me, that would be great. Perfect, thanks, Barbara. All right, well, this week, let's start off with the news. I did remember to get my updates this week. First off, BC Gurus, there are no updates for this week, although I'm personally working on a tutorial that's going to be released relatively soon, and I know a template is coming, I think before the end of the month or at the latest early into next month. So that should be coming. On the BC Academy, Brian Mulholland should come out tomorrow, I think, integrating Lightbox videos into hero sections, which should be pretty interesting. On the App Store, we have Automatic Backup BC is on sale. It's been extended to the 30th. And after this short introduction, I'm going to introduce Joe Wellborn, who's going to provide just a nice succinct demo of the app for us. So not only do we get to see it live, but it's also on sale until the end of the month. So that's pretty cool. And then I did want to talk about system updates R230. And maybe I'm going to share my screen. I think it might be a little bit easier. Okay, so R230 update went through, and then there's a 230.1, so we'll cover them both. But of importance is they fixed the integration with Stripe Payment Gateway, so this workaround that they had come up with, it will no longer be required. They fixed some other things like a bandwidth report related issue. There was a bug with SSL certificates which contain special characters. Website URLs will no longer be redirected to HTTPS if the certificate has expired. There's a few things around the SSL, and then other stability and performance fixes. And then just this morning they're going to do what they call a hot patch, and it looks like on Thursday to fix a couple of things that I think they discovered. So if a site has SSL enabled and a redirect loop, I mean, you can read that yourself. Probably best if you go to the forum and look at system updates. But just be aware that they're working on this SSL stuff. So if you're having an SSL issue, it would make sense for you to dive in and maybe read these updates. So these should all be done by the end of the week there, with any luck. All right, and without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Joe Wellborn, let him take the mic and give us a nice little introduction on Backup BC. And remember, it's on sale till the end of the month.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just great. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, so I'm going to switch over and share my screen. While this is spinning away, I can tell you very quickly. Quick story about how we started Backup BC, and by we, I mean me and my business partner, Kareem Ardalan. Let's see, what am I going to switch here? Here we go. So we started Backup BC in 2013, and it was an app that you download from the App Store, and it was a one-time purchase, and you could make backups of your website, and you would go in and you would manually make a backup. You would click backup, and it would back up for you, and you have to wait for it, and it would eventually finish, and you'd have your backup. So we were really happy with that solution, and it's been out there since 2013 and backed up thousands of websites. But our number one feature request was always, when are you going to have automatic backups? That's what everybody wants to do. You just set it and forget it. And so we were really happy to announce last month that we launched automatic backups. So what I would like to do is give you a quick tour of automatic backups. It's really easy, and I'll show you how to use it. And then secondly, I want to talk to you about how you can use Business Catalyst and turn it into a passive income stream to help grow your business. So I promised I would keep this to roughly about 5 minutes. So I'm going to dive in, and give me a shout if you have any questions. So is everyone seeing my screen right now?
Yes, we're seeing it just fine, Joe. Thanks. I've got it on the monitor here.
Got it. Okay. So inside your any Business Catalyst website, you can install this course on the App Store, and then your apps will show up down here in the apps menu. And once you first log in, you'll be prompted with a setup wizard. And you can very quickly, in just a few minutes, set up your preferences, which is essentially the same thing as the settings tab, but you'll be walked through it the first time you log in. And you can save your backup to your Business Catalyst website. Some people choose to do that. That's how I have it set right now. And you can also save it offsite in cloud storage on your Dropbox or your Google Drive. And you can indicate storage limits, as I've done here, if you want to save storage space, or make sure you don't back up more than you want to. And then you can schedule your backups to either do it daily, weekly, or twice monthly. And then you can also choose what to include in your backup, because since you're storing it offsite and or even onsite, you're ostensibly paying for your storage. So you want to be able to control what you back up. Maybe you want to back up the whole site, which you can do, or you can get really granular and back up just the specific things that you want. And then you'll save it, and at that point you've set it, and you can forget it. And at the next interval, your website will be backed up. So if it's daily, it'll back up the next day, and your website gets added to a queue. So there's not a specific time that we set, but it just happens daily. And then whenever you, anytime you want to log in and check on the status of your backups, you just open up the app, and you'll see your list of backups. You'll see when it was created. I need to hide something here. Here we go. You'll see when it was created, the type of backup it is, and where it's stored. So all of these have been stored on site. If this was on my Dropbox, it would show up there, of course. And then you can see a report over here. So all of these look good, but looks like there was an error or an alert on this one. So let me take a look at that. I could see that the backup was performed on this date, but there were 2 issues. So I could download the backup file. I could see what was backed up. And then here I can see the issues. In both cases, there was an illegal file name. So there was a space or there was an ampersand. So those issues are easy to fix. So it'll tell you what was backed up and what the issues were. And in this case, we fixed the issues right away. And ever since then, everything's backing up swimmingly. So we also offer on-demand backups. So let's say, for example, you want to make big changes on your site today and you want to have a full backup right now. You don't want to wait to the next scheduled backup. You can do it right now. Again, the whole site or just specific things. Just for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to do CRM because that's usually super fast. And I'll just do a little backup right now. It should only take a few seconds. In the previous app, you would need to wait until the backup completed. As it was client side, so it ran in JavaScript in your browser, you'd have to wait for it. Sometimes it would take a long time if you had a large site. So now it's server side, and it's faster just for that reason alone, but you don't have to wait for it either. So if you have a big site and it's taking a little while, just close your window and come back, and next time you show up, you'll see that your backup was complete, and we'll see this backup I just made right now shows up in the list of backups. And so that's how you back up your website. One other thing I want to point out is we have this instructions tab, and this is visible to both you and your clients, and it's got key information like how to back up, and there's a little video showing you how to do it. Same thing with how to restore. There are different types of data to restore, and Business Catalyst, and you restore it in different ways, and so there's a video showing you how to restore the data on your website. In some cases, maybe your client's willing to do that on their own, but if not, we always direct your clients in our language on the website back to you as the developer, so you could restore data for your clients if you wish to do that. So that, in a nutshell, is automatic backups. So you can see it's very easy to back up your website. And I also want to talk to you about turning this into a passive income stream. Let me just take a few minutes to talk to you about that, and then I'll open it up for questions. That sounds good. Everybody with me? I don't hear or see anything, so I'll keep talking.
Yeah, I think we're all good, Joe, and I'm watching the chat to see if there's any questions. None yet, but if you have questions in the audience, just put them in the chat, and we'll make sure that Joe's able to answer them if he can.
Super. Okay, so we envisioned automatic backups. It's not just a great tool for peace of mind for you and your clients, but also as a way for you to earn passive income for your business. I mean, we're developers. We developed this with ourselves in mind, and you're in the same boat that we are. So we want to back up websites, but it would also be great if you could turn this into passive income. And so you can resell automatic backups in the same way that you do Business Catalyst hosting, and you can offer it as a value-added service for your clients. And so you may be wondering, like, well, doesn't that invite some tricky questions with my clients? Like, why do I need to back up my website? Aren't the website servers already backed up? Aren't they safe? And so we've answered all of those questions. We've created a complete sales kit. It's a campaign, an end-to-end campaign that you can set up in about an hour, and you can promote automatic backups to your clients. And so here we're looking at the sales kit. You would just go to backupbc.com and you get it for free. Just log in, and there's a landing page. So you would download the landing page, and you would upload it to your website, and you would just change a couple things on your on a web form, and this video shows you how to do it. And then you would point your clients to this landing page. You could send them an email campaign. There's BC weekly messages, system announcements, and they'd go to the landing page and they could let you know that they're interested in automatic backups. And here's a quick peek. Let's see, if I were to just click this live preview, then I'll see this website. This is a website that you can use and put on your website, so it's on your domain, something like your domain/backups. You can add your logo very quickly. There's a video here. It's an animated video that just explains to clients why they would need backups. And the quick answer is, even though the website servers are safe and they're secure and they're backed up by Adobe, anyone who has admin access to the site and has access to delete files can accidentally overwrite pages and files or delete them. As a matter of fact, the origins of Backup BC is one of my clients inadvertently deleted all her web app items in an entire web app. There were hundreds of items, and BC makes it super easy to just check. Instead of delete selected items, she did delete all items, and instantly those items were gone, and she wasn't able to get them back. She had to recreate them fortunately I had some data, but anyway, it's easy for operators or website users to make an error and delete content on the website. So that's why you need automatic backups. And on the landing page, you would indicate the price that you want to charge your clients, and they would fill out this message, and they would let you know they're interested in automatic backups. And you could go install. Oops, I'm fighting my little controls here. I'm finding my Adobe screen sharing controls. Anyway, okay, very quickly to wrap it up. Once you've installed automatic backups on your client's website, we have composed an email letting them know that it's there, that they need to go and set it up. And you can also include it in your website proposals. We've even included some language for you to include in your website proposals. So again, in about an hour, you can launch this entire campaign. It takes so little effort, and you can start selling backups to your clients. And so if you're a partner that has 10 websites, for example, you might charge your clients $10 on top of the fee that you'd be paying monthly, and you make $10 per website, and that adds up to $1,200 per year. Or if you have 100 websites, if you're a big partner, then that's $12,000 a year. So it could really represent a really nice income stream for you. And we wanted to make it easy for you to do that and have the peace of mind with your backups. And so that is my presentation. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
We do have one, Joe. The question is, can you automatically remove backups, for example, if they are older than 1 year?
Currently, no. That's a good suggestion. It doesn't automatically remove them. But if you say let's say you reach your storage limits, if you're saving on the website, for example, and we've set it to only allow, 1,000 megabytes of data or 100 backups, and you exceed that, or let's say you exceed the thresholds that you are allowed on your Dropbox or Google Drive. What happens is the next time the backup script runs, it is unable to complete that backup. And so after 7 days, I hope I get this right, what it will do is it will store your backups. It will go ahead and make a backup, and it will save it on our servers, and it will keep it for 7 days. And so the next day it would keep the next one and the next one and so forth. But after 7 days, the first one that was backed up will be removed from the server. So this is our safety mechanism to make sure that even if you run out of space, that your backups are still occurring for every 7 or a week's worth of backups. So it is a good practice to log in once a week, or to ask your clients to log in once a week, and just check on the status of the backup, make sure there's no alerts. And if your backups do start to get saved on our servers, there will be an alert.
And it sounds like you might be, from my opinion in any way, is that you'd set the maximum number of backups, and that's probably the best way to manage that. Set it to 10 or 20 or whatever it is that you're reasonably sure is within your storage limits. And then if you set it for 10, then once you have 11, the first one drops off and the 11th one becomes your 10th one, right?
Yeah, right. You'd reach 10, and then we would start saving them. So our service would save 7 more. But after a week, the first one that's saved on our servers would disappear, and then it would replace it with the next one and so forth. And right, so that's how that works.
Shouldn't take you too long to dial it in. We have another couple of questions. Greg asks, the docs talk about the use of JSON in restoring certain content. Can you elaborate what is involved with this?
Yeah, that's a good question. First off, automatic backups backs up all the available APIs. So anything that we're able to grab from Business Catalyst, we do. And anything that they allow us to save as a CSV, we do. And there is a whole list of those. Either if you got the app, there's a list of what can't be backed up here in the instructions, what gets backed up. But you can also go to backupbc.com to see what gets backed up, because there are some things that don't get backed up because we don't have access to it. Some content can be backed up as a JSON file, although Business Catalyst doesn't allow us to save it as CSV because they don't allow the ability to import it. So some data, such as orders, for example, I think, here, let's see here. But I don't want to get it wrong, but I think orders, for example, it'll save it as a JSON file. And there is no easy way to import that, but we thought it's better to save that data as a JSON, because as a developer, you can go in and read that data. It's not all that user-friendly for your client, but you would be able to use that data, and you could manually access that data and restore something. So it might be a nuisance to back something up, but at least there is a backup of those items in which it's saved as JSON. So everything we say we can save as CSV, we do. And in addition, it's saved as JSON. And then some stuff we can only save as JSON. So make sure you take a look at what gets backed up. And again, this is a limitation imposed not by our app, but by what Business Catalyst allows us to back up. I hope that answered your question.
Okay, and one last question. Can the alerts be set up to be sent via email as opposed to an error in the backup list?
That is on our wish list for the next iteration. That's a great suggestion, and we love the idea, and we want to do that, because then you don't have to log in frequently and take a look. So it relieves you of that burden. So we would like to do that. We left it off this initial launch, just we needed to get it launched, and believe it or not, there's a lot that goes into launching an app like this. So that one didn't make it to this release, but it is very high on our wish list for future release, hopefully not too distant in the future, but that's where it is right now.
Perfect. And off the top of your head, Joe, do you remember the sale pricing on the App Store until the end of the month?
Yes. Okay. To the end of the month, there's 3 versions of. Let's see here if I can. Oh, here I don't have that open. If I was smart, I would have that open. There are 3 versions. There is a light version which backs up files only, and that's $6.99 a month. And then there is a per site license, so you can install on one site and it backs up everything, and that is $14.99 per month. And at the end of the month, it's going to go up to $19.99. And then there is an unlimited version, which lets you install automatic backups on all your sites. So it's great for partners who have a lot of sites. If you have more than 10 sites, more than 20 sites, that's a great option for you. So we have one partner installed, and it's on 90 sites. So they're just paying a fee of $149 per month, and they've anyone who buys it before January 31st locks in these prices. After that, the prices go up. So $14.99 becomes $19.99, and the $149 for the unlimited becomes $199. So that'll be our permanent pricing. So if you're all interested, now's the time to lock in this pricing forever.
Yeah, it's nice if you subscribe now. I mean, that's until you decide to stop. That's the price you pay. So to me, that's a pretty. I mean, I have no no monetary interest in this. I just think this is long overdue, and I'm glad you did it. And I didn't know about that sales kit, Joe. That's just really well set up. I feel.
Ah, super. Yeah. It takes an hour and you can start selling it to your clients. It has all the answers to their questions. So it relieves you from having to answer, difficult questions you might not have thought about. So take a look at the sales kit. You'll see how we set it up, and you can easily edit it to say whatever you want. One last thing I wanted to point out is we really value our existing clients who purchased the original app. The original app has been on sale, the manual backups I think the price was $49 ever since we launched it. So anyone who purchased that app, contact me, just hit me up with a private message and I can send you a coupon code, and we'll waive the $49 off your first purchase just as a thank you for purchasing the original app. We'd love to get you on board with the automatic backups.
Nice. Well, Joe, if you could stop sharing your screen there, we'll carry on with the rest of the program here. Thank you very much
Okay.
for your time.
Thank you for letting me present to everybody. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, let's see if I can get that to switch to me. There we go. And I wonder if I can get to gallery view. So I'm just looking at, I got my little iPad here to see what you're seeing, and all you see is me right now. And I'd far rather you got to see everybody. So give me a moment to try and figure that out. Yeah, I can't seem to force that. Maybe it's just my iPad. Hopefully you're seeing everybody's got their cameras turned on, which is really cool. So this week we're going to have what we call a think tank on the shipping module, which basically means I don't think I know it all. I'm hoping that as a community we can perhaps answer some questions and provide some benefit to the rest of the community. Thanks, Ursh. Tra-la-la-la-la. Yes, yes, yes. So on the shipping module, I did come up with a list of thoughts that hopefully will instigate some conversation. But I encourage you, if you have something to say, either put it in the chat or you're welcome to grab the mic and say your piece. And let's see if we can perhaps educate the community or come up with some better ideas. So the first thing I wanted to say is, if anybody's interested, is in talking, what do you like best about the shipping module? And I thought I'd start with that because the other side of that coin is probably going to be a longer conversation. But anybody want to volunteer what they like best about the shipping module? I guess I would say overall, I think it's a pretty decent module. There's certainly some challenging places, but overall, I thought it was pretty decent. That said, I only ever ship to within Canada or into the States for the clients that I've worked with. Anybody have an opinion or thoughts on that? As Scott Reynolds likes to say, crickets. Greg says very little. It's good for very simple shipping requirements. I agree with that. And fixed weight and size. And in some cases, integrating with a third-party shipping service. Mary feels it works well. Lots of options, and I think probably the proviso there is we're all kind of in agreement that it's for very simple shipping requirements. It's not meant to be an industrial strength shipping module like you might find in a Shopify or a Magento type of an app or site. All right. Well, thanks for that. The next thing is, what do you find challenging to work with? And we'll see if that lights things up. Really? I thought the scroll on the chat would be simply buzzing. There we go. Now we got some coming in. So Rock says it's hard to work with items that are in the same catalog but have different costs. Agreed. Joe's had some luck integrating with a shipping provider through the API. I've got some of that later. We've done some of that with ShipStation, and it took some doing, but we got it to work. Yeah. Mary says finds it to be pretty bulletproof, which is interesting to me. I do. Maybe it's the age-old thing where you only ever hear the bad news. So thank you, Mary, for the positive thoughts on that. Yeah, that different costs to ship. Anytime it's relatively straightforward if you want to charge $20 to ship anywhere in a given country, or those kinds of things. But if you get into more complexities, it can be difficult. Yeah, Greg's finding it difficult in Australia, which looks relatively small on the map. But when you take Australia and you lay it over top of the United States, it's either as big or bigger. So, pretty big country with lots of lots of space between the coasts. Yeah, and there's no import facility in there, sure. So the next part of that question is, does anyone have a workaround or just plain advice on handling some of these issues? So how has anybody got some advice on handling different costs to ship? Or handling these remote costs as Greg brings up? I mean, is the only answer to set up through an API into a more powerful shipping module? Is that the answer? And I guess what I would say is this conversation is not meant to gather ideas to take to Adobe. They've made it real clear. They're on a path. They're working on specific things this year, and shipping is not one of them. So, yeah, what I've suggested is find the worst case scenario, or the second or third worst case scenario, and set your shipping for that. So I'm up in Canada on the West Coast, and I just say, look, if you're here and you think you might have to ship to the East Coast, figure out how much that is, and then that becomes your shipping for anything in Canada. Recognizing, and maybe you got to back it off a little bit. Say if it's cost $20 to ship there, maybe you make it 15, and recognize that in most cases you're going to make a little bit of money, but in the odd case you might lose a little bit, and overall you're going to be all right. That seems to work, unless you have a shop that is very competitive, where they're very price sensitive. Then it's not quite so good. Yeah, I guess along those same lines, Greg, it's setting some prices like that, and then watching what you actually end up paying over the course of a month, and making adjustments if you need to. Yeah, and again, Mary, I just kind of find the second or third word case scenario, and set shipping at that. And it's not good for if I'm shipping for some place that's 50 miles away, and that they have to pay the same price as someone across the country. But for the most part, that's the most bulletproof way to get things to work. Again, it works well unless you're in a market that's real competitive. So Urs asks, Mary, if you find the Australia Post one works well. Urs has not tried it. So Greg, I'm assuming that was some level of custom coding. So based on a region, you'd have different fixed ship rates based on a region. Is that how that works? Yeah, that's a cool idea. So a little bit of custom coding, but that's better than a one price fits all for sure. Yeah, Rox, there's all kinds of improvements we can suggest, but there's just no point. Again, BC's made it real clear they're not working on the shipping module this year. They're focused on SSL and compliance this year. So, okay, cool. I wrote this. I'm not sure why I wrote this, but is anyone shipping from outside of the US? Like, I'd like to hear from people shipping in Canada, maybe Australia. I've already heard a little bit from Greg, but I'm particularly interested in the UK because I understand there's some fairly significant issues with shipping in the UK. So I'd like to hear a little bit about from anybody who's doing that. Mary's saying Australian Post works well. You got to put in size and weight, and you can do that with a spreadsheet upload. So that's for Australia Post. Anybody on who's shipping in the UK would have a comment or an opinion on the shipping module? Yeah, Barbara wishes it would integrate with Canada Post. Doesn't it? Did I not do that? Yeah, Rox is saying the problem is more the poor overall freight infrastructure in Australia compared to the US. Now you got me curious, Barbara. I'm going to just have a quick look at the. So I'm just logging into another screen here. Greg's reminding that Australia Post is limited to 20 kilograms. I know there's some issues on box sizing and stuff where some shippers will, when it reaches a certain size, they split it out into 2 or 3 boxes and stuff, and that can cause some pricing differences. I'm not sure if anybody's come across that before. Oh, I might have to log into a Canadian site. Shoot. Well, let me just do that. Interesting. I'm looking at a Canadian site, and I can choose Australia Post as one of the options. Oh, that is just so sad. It might have been USPS I was thinking of, or UPS. Who'd have thought Australia Post? Cool. All right. Is anyone using Dropship? Has anybody had a level of success with Dropship? Does anybody know what Dropship is? So Dropship, to my understanding, is you link up with a third party. So say Joe is my third party, he delivers my product. So when someone places an order on my site, that order gets sent to Joe and he fulfills it. That's my understanding of Dropship. So A, if I'm wrong, please correct me, and B, if I'm not wrong, is anybody using that? Okay, doesn't look like it. Generally speaking, if you're using the shipping module, what type of products are your clients selling? Is it large products, small products, a little bit of both? The ones I'm working with are selling jewelry. I call them my charming people because they're selling things like Pandora charms. I have 3 sites that I take care of. So that's all small stuff, and maybe that's why I find the shipping module works fairly well for me. But is anybody trying to ship larger items and having some challenges? Yeah, so Greg's shipping Packs and pellets, large stuff for sure. Yeah, Joe did what was effectively drop shipping, but that was through the API, which although it works, it's requires some special coding. Barbara has a customer to use a flat rate to ship bottles of oil. It's not too bad unless you're shipping by the case. The weight would be high. Greg says everything from a hammer to a concrete pump. So that in the end, they just gave up because it's the size and weight is just too varied for a module like that. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is, for the most part, where people are finding a level of success, it's with a fixed rate of shipping, maybe even zonal, if you can set up zones with a little bit of custom programming. Sounds to me like that's where for folks are having the most success. I've got a couple that are hooked up to like FedEx or UPS that based on the size and weight get quotes back. For the most part, probably 99% of the time, they're getting relatively accurate rates back. Although it's never 100%. Like if the shipping rate that comes back from FedEx is $9.78, they'll wind up getting a bill for $9.82 or $9.75, which just makes me a little crazy that has to happen. But that's what's happening for them. So they just recognize that and either increase the rate of their price of their products if they can, or they add a little bit of a handling charge, or they find a way to handle that works for their business. I did have, I don't take care of them anymore, but I was taking care of a medical marijuana site, not the marijuana itself, but the machines that they use to process. So they were selling to people that were growing medical marijuana, and they were shipping large cutters and large bits of machinery. And they, fortunately for them, it was all basically large. So they were able to figure out and in that industry, generally speaking, people don't care what they're paying. They just want it. So they were able to kind of inflate their shipping and make sure they were well covered. I was thinking of Greg's hammer to concrete pump, and they're in much the same business, but different for them again is their clients don't necessarily care what they're paying for. So adult diapers, yeah, interesting. Maybe the two go together. After you have enough medical marijuana, you need an adult diaper. I don't know. That whole industry is amazing to me. I mean, thousands of dollars. There are people buying $12,000, $15,000 machines and having them shipped across the world, like from Canada over to somewhere in Europe or somewhere in even in Australia. It was amazing to me. They pay $15,000 for a machine and then $3,000 to ship it somewhere. It was just unbelievable to me. All right. Are your customers doing their own shipping or connecting to a shipping provider like FedEx and getting the live quote? So kind of getting a feel for that, what percentage might be connecting to a live quote, and what percentage are just setting a shipping rate. Probably for me, the sites I've dealt with, it's probably 80-20, 80% setting their own rate and 20% are connected to a shipping provider. No opinions? My thought is that most would be, again, probably mirror what I'm doing, with 80% setting their own rates and maybe 20% connecting to a shipping provider. Okay, there's no opinions on that. When they're using the shipping module, are you adding dollars over and above the shipping amount? Are you adding a handling charge? Anybody, are you aware that's doing that? What I'm interested in is anybody using the handling charge, and are they finding that a reasonable way to kind of pad their shipping rates a little bit, or is it simpler just to up the shipping rate? And I guess that's more of a thing if you're linked to a shipping provider. So FedEx returns $9.79. Does it make sense to throw another dollar handling charge on there to make sure that you're covered for these small variances that seem to happen? So I have one client that does that, and it seems to work well for them. Yeah, Mary says a lot of hers are adding a bit of an extra charge. Same for rocks. So there are people using it, and I mean I've used it. It works fine. I think the only challenge that comes is if you're in a competitive industry, and I guess that's a challenge all around, regardless of shipping module or even just the price of the product. Next question I had wondered was, do you limit the countries where shipping is available to? And if you do, then how are you handling shipping to those omitted countries? So if I have a business in Canada, I have several that will only ship to Canada. And if someone wants to buy something from the United States, they say, give us a call and they'll arrange something. But they're not doing it through the website. So I wondered how other folks might be handling that. Yeah, so Barbara only ships to Canada. Same for rocks, only shipping into Australia. It does get real complex with taxes and shipping and all the rest of it, and customs and duty and all that. So it's kind of my thought too, was just limiting it to your own country, and then anybody else, encourage them to call. I've suggested if someone wants, like these medical marijuana guys, if I suggested to them initially, get them to call you, and then what I think it's called FOB. It's called FOB. So freight on board is what it really is, but I always like to call it found out back. So your machine is found out back. You arrange to have it shipped yourself because it's on my loading dock ready for you to pick up. So I use that line, and I get a smile just like Joe there. Yeah. So I wonder if anybody else is doing something similar. You still get the sale, you get the call, and all the rest of that, but you do it freight on board or found out back. Okay, any opinions on how you're handling taxes on shipping? Do you apply taxes to shipping? Do you not apply taxes to shipping? What are you doing for your clients? And then that might be more controlled from your country of origin, whether you have to apply taxes to your shipping or not. But it's interesting to me that you can turn it on or off in Business Catalyst. I guess the flexibility is all right, but yeah, Barbara and I live in Canada where everything is taxable. In fact, Barbara, you're going to get a tax bill for saying that shipping is taxable here in Ontario. That's a taxable statement. So Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, is going to send you a tax bill for saying that. Okay, I didn't think that would be necessarily a big thing, so I'll move on. I'm interested to see if anybody is using packing slips or package labels from the system. I haven't done that myself, and I was interested to hear if anybody's actually using them and if it works well for them. So Rox used it once a few years ago, hasn't used it since. When you tried them, did it seem to work? Was it okay, or is it just too much of a hassle and that's why you stopped using it? Okay, so kind of what I figured is the layout is the issue. It's difficult to work with, and it just become a hassle, and it's easier for them just to have their own thing. Okay. So other than the API, which Joe's already mentioned, is anyone using a shipping solution outside of the BC option? So as a for instance, there's ShipWire and ShipStation, and we have sites that are using those. And I guess I shouldn't say besides the API because those use the API, but I'm interested to know how many people may be using that. So we have through ShipStation, we have a site where they're selling mostly electronic type stuff, alarms and motion sensors and um, home automation type of tools and all the rest of it. And through the ShipStation integration, there's inventory management. There's conversations back and forth on that, and there is the shipping is handled in a dropship manner through the ShipStation app. So it works pretty cool. Doesn't seem like anybody else might be doing that besides Joe and the API that you set up. Joe, do you remember what service that was? Was it like ShipStation or ShipWire or something else? Oh, so what you need the API for was just to talk to their in-house system, really. Okay. All right. Well, maybe it's enough to know that those are possibilities. If you run into a client where you need that kind of integration, you can certainly give Mike at Chicago Digital a call, and you could I'm sure you could give Joe a call. He has some experience now with APIs and such. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, Joe, but I don't know, Jack. Jack asks, can ShipStation handle tracking inventory sold in store as well as online? I know that. Where did my screen go? Hang on. I don't know that answer. I know it handles inventory back and forth, but I don't think this particular store has bricks and mortar. So I can't answer that for you. Sorry, Jack. Okay. So Joe confesses that it was Simplify that did the heavy lifting, and he just paid the bill. By the sounds of it. So I'm going to paste. There's a link in the chat there. That's a YouTube video. It's actually Fraser McCulloch from Platonic, and he did a little YouTube video on the shipping module, which I thought was interesting, and I thought you may find interesting too. You don't have to watch it now; just watch it later. When I did a little bit of search around Business Catalyst and shipping and all the rest of it, that came up. And he does talk a little bit about shipping, so I thought you might find that interesting. And then I wonder out loud. I wondered if that Zapier application in the App Store could be used to connect to a shipping solution. I wonder if anybody had any thoughts on that. Okay. Yeah, it does look pretty cool. And I wondered if, I mean, it's meant to connect systems to talk to each other. And I wondered if anybody's maybe used it for the whole shipping thing. So I know we did a custom API thing for ShipStation, and I'm thinking it would have been easier to go through something like a Zapier, but maybe I'm incorrect. So I think if I was trying to summarize what I'm gathering from folks' opinions and comments is that, I mean, Business Catalyst works as a straightforward and simple shipping solution. If you need to do something complex where there's weights and size differences and huge variances in what you're shipping, it's certainly more of a challenge and may not work for you. And that's something to watch out for. It sounds like the integrations work well when there's some level of consistency around what you're shipping. And by integration, I mean like a FedEx or a UPS integration. If what you're shipping is onesie twosies where they're all roughly the same size and roughly the same weight. I don't mean within ounces, but you don't have hammers and concrete mixers that you're trying to ship. It sounds like lots of people are adding handling charges and such to their shipping rates, or they're setting a static rate and trying to make sure that encompasses enough to make sure that overall over all their sales that it's not necessarily a profit center, but they're not losing money on their shipping side of things. So that's kind of how I would summarize it. If anybody would like to call me out as wrong, that's okay. That's what I'm hearing. And with that, we got a few minutes left here. If anybody has something different they'd like to bring up or discuss, or see if there's an answer from the group that could help them out, please go ahead and either grab the mic or put it in the chat. But I think we're done with shipping. Yeah, interesting, Urs, that you use the shipping module for digital products. I guess I don't know quite. I guess that I haven't done that myself, so I don't quite understand how that works. Like, is it simply it's just a delivery? Oh, she said that wrong. Okay. Because to me, I mean, once someone buys a digital product, you give them a link to the download. I'm not sure that there's shipping involved. Although anytime you can throw an extra $1 or $2 on a transaction, that's always good. I get it. So thanks for clarifying her. So she uses e-commerce with digital, so you don't have to worry about the shipping. That makes sense to me. Sure. So outside of that, you just choose not to do that project, or do you hire that out to someone else, or how do you handle that, or you just avoid that project altogether? She's not telling me. So you just avoid it. Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of like handling email within Business Catalyst. Like it seems so easy and straightforward until you have problems. I'm kind of shy. I shy away from that too. And more, I'm saying, you know what? Just take care of your own email. Take care of your email in Gmail or wherever you want to take care of it, but just don't do it here where I have to handle it. Yeah, Ursh says it's picking the right jobs for the platform. It's knowing the strengths and weaknesses of what Business Catalyst does well, and approaching those jobs. There's a lot of things that it does really well, and frankly, elaborate e-commerce is not necessarily one of them. It does okay, but between the taxation and the shipping modules, there's enough challenges where I tend to shy away from it too. Yeah, I've got some clients too, Mary. Mary says that BC email works well for them, but she doesn't necessarily move it there if the client already has email. I have a few clients that are just themselves and one other person, and the BC email works great for them. It's where we get a little bit more going on there, where they got 6, 8, 10 emails, and they want some fancy routing, and particularly this one e-commerce site where they sell these charms, and they do silly things like they one of their admin people went in and changed the MX record because they're gonna see if they could have their email show up on another server. Well, of course, BC deleted all their email addresses, all 10 of them. So they put them back in, but then they said, "Hey, can you see if Adobe can restore them for us?" It was an interesting conversation. But it's those kind of there's story after story after story of challenges with email, and it's stories like that where I just go, you know what, just take care of your own email. Just take care of it yourself. Nothing pisses a customer off more than when they can't get email, and then they're hot on you for it, and then there's no rest until you solve the problem. So if something happens on their about page, not as big a concern. A slider won't load or an image looks stupid, not as big a concern. Yeah. What to do? Client error. Yeah, Office 365, same idea. Overall, I think it's probably a better choice for them anyway. There's with the integrations and stuff, and the fact that really BC is not updating anything with email. There's just so much better solutions and choices up there as far as integration goes. Even receivability, like seeing their email on multiple devices and all the rest of that stuff. And when you delete it on one, it should delete on all the rest of them, and all those things. It's just a better solution if they take care of their own. First gives a shout out to Liz Gibbs, who's an expert with email, who may be interested in more business if you're having troubles. Yeah, so that's Ursh handles it by outsourcing it and then charging for it, which is probably appropriate too. All right, well, it's just coming up on 5, so unless there's something else, I'm going to call it a wrap. And thank you all for coming today. Yeah, I tried that, Jack. I just haven't had luck with the whole IMAP thing and having it delete everywhere. Maybe it's just my lack of email knowledge, but or maybe I'll just have another go at it. All right, thanks everyone. I appreciate the kind words, and we'll see you next week.